Nazareth confronts Sanhedrin intense midnight tribunal. Jerusalem, Judea, April 33 scene, midnight. In a gripping development, Jesus of Nazareth, the charismatic and divisive preacher, was brought before the Sanhedrin, Judea's powerful religious council, in a clandestine midnight session tonight. The dramatic confrontation, held in the torch-lit chambers of the high priest's residence, follows Jesus' arrest in the Garden of Gethsemane just hours ago, sending shockwaves through a city already on edge as Passover nears. Eyewitnesses report that Jesus, bound and guarded by temple officers, faced a formidable assembly of chief priests, elders, and scribes, led by high priest Caiaphas. The Sanhedrin, convened in an extraordinary late-night meeting, accused Jesus of blasphemy and inciting rebellion, citing his claims to be the Messiah and his provocative teachings in the temple courts. He calls himself the Son of God and speaks of destroying this temple. One council member reportedly charged, according to sources present. The proceedings were fraught with intensity. Caiaphas, presiding with authority, demanded Jesus respond to the accusations. Tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God. He pressed, his voice cutting through the murmurs of the council. Witnesses say Jesus, standing calmly despite his restraint, replied, "You have said so. But I tell you, hereafter you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power." The bold declaration sparked an uproar, with some members of the Sanhedrin shouting accusations of blasphemy and others demanding immediate judgment. Testimonies against Jesus were presented, though sources note inconsistencies among witnesses, with some accounts faltering under scrutiny. Despite this, the council, driven by Caiaphas' insistence, declared Jesus guilty of blasphemy, a charge carrying a death sentence under Jewish law. The high priest reportedly tore his robes in a theatrical display, proclaiming, "What further testimony do we need?" The decision, however, requires Roman approval, and Jesus is set to be handed over to Governor Pontius Pilate at dawn. Outside the chambers, a growing crowd of Jesus supporters clashed verbally with temple loyalists. "He healed my daughter, he's no blasphemer," cried a woman from Capernaum, while others warned that Jesus' teachings threaten the fragile peace with Rome. The city is a powder keg, with whispers of miracles and rebellion fueling both hope and fear. As Jesus is led away under guard, Jerusalem awaits the Roman governor's verdict. Will this midnight trial mark the end of the Nazarenes' influence, or will it ignite further unrest? Breaking news, High Priest Caiaphas interrogates Jesus of Nazareth in charge late-night meeting. Jerusalem, Judea, April 33 scene, in a stunning development, Jesus of Nazareth, the polarizing preacher whose teachings had captivated and divided Judea, faced a dramatic interrogation tonight by High Priest Caiaphas at the Sanhedrin's council chambers. The high-stakes encounter, which unfolded in the hours following Jesus' arrest in the Garden of Gethsemane, has set Jerusalem abuzz as Passover approaches. Eyewitnesses report that Jesus was brought before the Sanhedrin, the Jewish High Council, under cover of darkness, bound and flanked by temple guards. The atmosphere was tense as Caiaphas, the powerful high priest, took center stage, accusing Jesus of blasphemy and undermining religious authority. Sources close to the council say Caiaphas pressed Jesus on his bold claims, particularly his alleged assertion of being the Son of God and the promised Messiah. "Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed One?" Caiaphas reportedly demanded, his voice echoing through the stone chamber. According to those present, Jesus responded with striking calm, "I am, and you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power." The statement sent shockwaves through the assembly, with some council members crying out in outrage, accusing him of blasphemy. Caiaphas, visibly incensed, tore his robes, a dramatic gesture signaling the gravity of the charge. The meeting was marked by heated exchanges, with witnesses claiming that several members of the Sanhedrin presented testimony against Jesus, though some accounts appear conflicting. Supporters of Jesus, barred from the proceedings, gathered outside, whispering of his miracles and teachings on love and forgiveness. "He's no criminal, he speaks truth," said Simon, a follower from Bethany. Meanwhile, critics aligned with the council argue that Jesus' claims threaten a delicate balance with Roman authorities, risking unrest in an already volatile city. The interrogation concluded with Caiaphas declaring Jesus guilty of blasphemy, a charge punishable by death under Jewish law. However, sources indicate the Sanhedrin lacks authority to execute and plans to hand Jesus over to Roman Governor Pontius Pilate for further judgment at dawn. The move has sparked fears of escalating tensions, with crowds already forming in Jerusalem's streets. As the city holds its breath, questions swirl: will Pilate uphold the Sanhedrin's verdict, or will Jesus' fate take another turn? This is a developing story, and we will provide updates as events unfold. Breaking news: Jesus of Nazareth questioned by Herod Antipas in surprise meeting. Jerusalem, Judea, April 33 C. In a startling turn of events, Jesus of Nazareth, the controversial preacher at the center of Jerusalem's unrest, was brought before Herod Antipas, Tetrarch of Galilee, today in a dramatic and unexpected interrogation. The meeting, which took place mid-morning in Herod's Jerusalem residence, followed Jesus' initial trial before Roman Governor Pontius Pilate, who sent him to Herod for further questioning. Eyewitnesses report that Jesus, bound and escorted by Roman soldiers, was brought to Herod amid heightened tensions in the city as Passover festivities loomed. Herod, known for his curiosity about Jesus' teachings and rumored miracles, reportedly greeted the encounter with a mix of intrigue and mockery. Sources close to the Tetrarch say he had long sought to meet Jesus, having heard tales of his healings and teachings across Galilee. The interrogation unfolded in Herod's opulent court, where the Tetrarch pressed Jesus to perform a miracle on demand, treating the moment as a spectacle. "Show us a sign, prophet," Herod allegedly taunted, according to attendants. Jesus, however, remained silent throughout the questioning, offering no response to Herod's provocations or the accusations leveled by members of the Sanhedrin, who accompanied him and reiterated charges of sedition and blasphemy. This silence reportedly frustrated Herod, who grew increasingly agitated. The scene was charged, with Herod's courtiers and guards exchanging uneasy glances as the Tetrarch mocked Jesus, dressing him in a lavish robe to ridicule his claimed title of King of the Jews. After a brief and fruitless exchange, Herod, unwilling to take responsibility for a verdict, sent Jesus back to Pilate, dismissing the case as a Roman matter. "He's no threat to me," Herod reportedly scoffed, though some onlookers noted a flicker of unease in his demeanor. The encounter has further inflamed Jerusalem's divided populace. Supporters of Jesus, gathered outside, expressed outrage, with one follower, Mary of Magdala, declaring, "He speaks of truth and love, yet they mock him." Meanwhile, detractors aligned with the religious elite argue that Jesus' refusal to answer Herod proves his defiance and danger to public order. As Jesus is returned to Pilate's court, the city braces for the next chapter in this escalating drama. Will Pilate deliver a final judgment, or will the controversy surrounding Jesus deepen? This is a developing story, and we will continue to provide updates as events unfold. Breaking news: Trial of Jesus of Nazareth shakes Jerusalem. Jerusalem, Judea, April 33 C. In a stunning development, Jesus of Nazareth, the controversial preacher and healer, faced trial today before Roman Governor Pontius Pilate, accused of sedition and blasphemy. The proceedings, held in the shadow of Passover, have gripped the city, drawing impassioned crowds and sparking heated debate. Eyewitnesses report that the trial began early this morning at the Praetorium, where Jesus was brought before Pilate by the Sanhedrin, the Jewish High Council. The charges, presented by High Priest Caiaphas, allege that Jesus claims to be the King of the Jews, a direct challenge to Roman authority, and that his teachings incited unrest among the people. He stirs the crowd, proclaiming a kingdom not of this world, Caiaphas declared, according to sources close to the council. Pilate, visibly wary of the volatile situation, questions Jesus extensively. Reports indicate that Jesus remained largely silent, responding only, "My kingdom is not of this world," when pressed about his alleged claims to kingship. This cryptic response left the governor uneasy, with some onlookers noting Pilate's hesitation to pass judgment. In a surprising move, Pilate offered to release the prisoner as part of the Passover custom, presenting the crowd with a choice between Jesus and Barabbas, a known insurrectionist. The crowd, swayed by vocal members of the Sanhedrin, reportedly shouted for Barabbas' release and demanded Jesus' crucifixion. Tensions escalated as Pilate, under pressure from the growing mob, symbolically washed his hands, declaring, "I am innocent of this man's blood." Jesus was then sentenced to death by crucifixion, a brutal punishment reserved for Rome's gravest offenders. Supporters of Jesus, including a group of devoted followers, wept openly as he was led away, while others in the crowd hurled insults. The trial has exposed deep divisions in Jerusalem. Some view Jesus as a dangerous agitator whose teachings threaten both Roman rule and Jewish tradition. Others, particularly among the poor and marginalized, hail him as a prophet and miracle worker, citing stories of healings and compassion. "He gave us hope," said Miriam, a woman from Galilee who claimed Jesus healed her son. This is no justice. As Jesus is led to Golgotha for execution, the city braces for what comes next. Will his death quell the unrest, or will it ignite further fervor among his followers? This is a developing story, and we will continue to bring you updates as events unfold. Show in sidebar. Breaking news. Jerusalem. This afternoon, Jesus of Nazareth, a prominent religious teacher and healer, was executed by crucifixion on Golgotha, just outside the city walls. The controversial figure, known for his teachings of love, forgiveness, and claims of divine authority, was sentenced by Roman Governor Pontius Pilate after a swift trial. Eyewitnesses report a chaotic scene as Jesus was led through the streets, carrying a heavy wooden cross, following a brutal scourging. Crowds gathered, some weeping, others jeering, as Roman soldiers nailed him to the cross alongside two criminals. Sources confirm Jesus spoke words of forgiveness even as he suffered, saying, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." The execution, ordered after pressure from local religious leaders, citing blasphemy, occurred under a darkened sky, with tremors reported in the area. Jesus was pronounced dead after several hours, his body later removed by a follower, Joseph of Arimathea, for burial. Supporters claim Jesus' teachings will endure, with some whispering of a promised resurrection. Authorities are bracing for potential unrest. More details to follow as this story develops. Breaking news. Jerusalem reels in wake of Jesus of Nazareth's death. Jerusalem, Judea, April 33 c. Late afternoon. In a somber and chaotic turn of events, Jesus of Nazareth, the polarizing preacher and healer, was declared dead this afternoon following his crucifixion on the hill of Golgotha, just outside Jerusalem's walls. The execution, ordered by Roman Governor Pontius Pilate after a tumultuous trial, has left the city in a state of shock, division, and uncertainty as Passover celebrations are overshadowed by grief and unrest. Eyewitnesses report that Jesus, crucified alongside two criminals, endured hours of agony before succumbing around the 9th hour. His death was marked by extraordinary phenomena. A sudden darkness enveloped the city for 3 hours, and tremors shook the ground, prompting panic among onlookers. The veil in the temple tore in two, claimed a shaken priest, fueling rumors of divine intervention. Crowds at the sight, a mix of mourners and jeering spectators, dispersed as Roman soldiers removed Jesus' body, which was handed over to a wealthy follower, Joseph of Arimathea, for burial in a nearby tomb. The aftermath has sparked intense reactions across Jerusalem. Jesus' followers, devastated by the loss, are in hiding, fearing retribution from authorities. He was our hope, our teacher, wept Mary of Magdala, one of his closest disciples, outside the sealed tomb. Others, including fishermen from Galilee, insist his teachings of love and the coming kingdom will endure. Meanwhile, members of the Sanhedrin, who pushed for his execution on charges of blasphemy and sedition, expressed relief, with one elder stating, "This ends the threat to our order." Yet, whispers of unrest persist. Reports circulate among Jesus' supporters of his predictions that he would rise again after 3 days, stirring both skepticism and fervent hope. Roman and temple authorities have heightened security around the tomb, wary of potential disturbances. "We ensure no one steals the body to claim a miracle," a guard stationed at the site declared. The city is a cauldron of conflicting emotions. Some residents, touched by Jesus' acts of compassion, mourn quietly, while others, wary of his challenge to Roman rule, view his death as a necessary act to preserve peace. Unconfirmed accounts of his followers experiencing visions or renewed resolve are already spreading, raising questions about the lasting impact of the Nazarene's life and death. As Jerusalem grapples with this unprecedented moment, the question looms, will Jesus' execution quell the movement he inspired, or will it ignite something greater? This is a developing story, and we will continue to bring you updates as events unfold. Breaking news, Mary of Magdala mourns Jesus of Nazareth, vows his message will endure. Jerusalem, Judea, April 33 c. evening. In the wake of the shocking crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth earlier today, Mary of Magdala, one of his closest followers, spoke publicly for the first time, delivering a heartfelt and defiant message outside the tomb where Jesus was laid to rest. Her words, laden with grief yet brimming with conviction, have stirred both hope and controversy in a city reeling from the day's events. Standing near the sealed rock tomb under Roman guard, Mary, her voice trembling but resolute, addressed a growing crowd of mourners and curious onlookers. Jesus was no ordinary man, she declared, tears streaming down her face. He healed the sick, gave sight to the blind, and spoke of a kingdom of love and justice. They killed him, but his truth cannot be silenced. Her words come hours after Jesus' death on the cross at Golgotha, following a swift trial by Roman Governor Pontius Pilate and accusations of blasphemy and sedition from the Sanhedrin. Mary recounted her personal transformation under Jesus' teachings, claiming he freed her from darkness and gave her purpose. He saw us, the forgotten, the outcast, and called us family, she said, her voice rising. She spoke of his final moments, describing how he forgave his executioners even as he suffered. His love was stronger than their hate, she insisted, pointing toward the city where temple and Roman authorities orchestrated his death. The crowd's response was mixed. Some wept, echoing Mary's grief and praising Jesus' compassion, while others, wary of Roman patrols, urged her to lower her voice. "She risks everything speaking like this," muttered a bystander, noting the heavy presence of soldiers nearby. Rumors are swirling that Jesus' followers, including Mary, may face arrest as authorities seek to suppress his movement. Yet Mary remained undeterred, hinting at Jesus' own words about rising again. He told us death would not hold him. "I believe him," she said, sparking gasps and murmurs among listeners. The Sanhedrin, meanwhile, has dismissed Mary's words as the ravings of a grieving woman, with one official stating, the Nazarene's troublemaking ends with his death. But in Jerusalem's streets, whispers of Jesus' miracles and teachings persist, fueled by Mary's bold testimony. As night falls, her words have ignited fresh debate. Will Jesus' death extinguish his influence, or will his followers, led by voices like Mary's, carry his message forward? This is a developing story, and we will continue to provide updates as events unfold.
Breaking news: Simon Peter vows to carry on Jesus of Nazareth's mission after his death. Jerusalem, Judea, April 33 CE, evening. In a bold and emotional address tonight, Simon Peter, one of Jesus of Nazareth's closest disciples, spoke out for the first time since his teacher's crucifixion earlier today on Golgotha. Standing in a dimly lit courtyard near the city's outskirts, Peter's impassioned words have electrified a small but fervent crowd, defying the heavy atmosphere of fear and grief gripping Jerusalem in the wake of Jesus' execution. Peter, a burly fisherman from Galilee known for his fiery temperament, fought back tears as he recounted Jesus' life and death. He was the Messiah, the one who brought hope to the broken. He proclaimed, his voice carrying over the murmurs of onlookers. He fed thousands, healed the lame, and taught us to love even our enemies. They crucified him, but his words will never die. The statement comes mere hours after Jesus was sentenced to death by Roman Governor Pontius Pilate, following accusations of sedition and blasphemy leveled by the Sanhedrin. Addressing a mix of supporters and wary bystanders, Peter admitted his own failings, confessing he denied knowing Jesus during the chaotic hours of his arrest. I was weak, but he forgave me even before I fell, he said, his voice breaking. He called me to be a rock, and I will not fail him again. Peter spoke of Jesus' final hours, describing his compassion even on the cross, where he prayed for his tormentors. That's the man they killed, a man of mercy, not rebellion, he insisted. The scene was tense, with Roman soldiers patrolling nearby and temple authorities reportedly monitoring Jesus' followers. Some in the crowd, moved by Peter's words, nodded in agreement, recalling Jesus' miracles in Galilee. He made my brother walk again, whispered one man, clutching a staff. Others, however, urged caution, warning that Peter's outspokenness could draw the wrath of those who sought Jesus dead. He's risking his life, muttered a woman, glancing at the shadows. Peter also hinted at Jesus' promised resurrection, saying, he told us he would rise. I don't understand it all, but I trust him. The claim stirred both hope and skepticism among listeners, with some whispering of a guarded tomb under Roman watch to prevent any claims of miracles. The Sanhedrin, meanwhile, has branded Peter's words as dangerous, with a spokesperson stating, this fisherman spreads the same lies as his master. As Jerusalem remains on edge, Peter's defiant speech has sparked new questions. Will Jesus' death silence his movement, or will disciples like Peter ignite a flame that authority cannot extinguish? Breaking news: Jesus of Nazareth, declared dead, appears alive to disciples in stunning flames. Jerusalem, Judea, April 33 CE, evening. In an astonishing development that has left Jerusalem reeling, Jesus of Nazareth, crucified and declared dead 3 days ago, is reported to have appeared alive to his closest disciples tonight in a locked room in the city. The extraordinary claim, emerging just as Passover festivities wane, has sparked further confusion and skepticism across Judea. According to multiple witnesses among Jesus' followers, the gathering took place in a secretive upper room where the disciples, still reeling from their leader's execution, had hidden from authorities. Simon Peter, a prominent disciple, spoke to a small crowd outside, his voice trembling with awe. He stood among us, alive. He showed us his hands and side, pierced by nails and spears. It was no ghost, it was him. Peter claimed Jesus spoke words of peace, urging them not to fear and to continue his mission of spreading his teaching. Mary of Magdala, another disciple, corroborated the account, saying Jesus addressed them with familiar tenderness, instructing them to go and tell the world that he had risen as he foretold. He said he would conquer death, and he had. She explained, tears of joy replacing the grief she expressed days ago at his feet. Witnesses report that Jesus shared a meal with the group, further dispelling doubts of his physical presence, before vanishing from their sight. The news comes amid heightened tension in Jerusalem. Roman and temple authorities, who sealed Jesus' tomb to prevent theft of his body, are dismissing the claim as a desperate ploy by his followers. The body was stolen. This is a fabrication, a Sanhedrin official stated, pointing to the heavy guard posted at the tomb. However, rumors persist of an empty tomb discovered early this morning by women among Jesus' followers, fueling speculation of a miraculous event. The city is abuzz with conflicting reactions. Supporters of Jesus, particularly among the poor and marginalized, are hailing the news as proof of his divine power, with some gathering in prayer and celebration. He is the Messiah, returned as promised, shouted a man from Bethany. Skeptics, however, including many in the religious elite, warn that such claims could incite further unrest, prompting increased Roman patrols. As word of the alleged resurrection spreads, questions swirl. Is this the beginning of a renewed movement, or a fleeting delusion born of grief? The disciples, emboldened by the encounter, vow to proclaim Jesus' message despite the risks. This is a developing story, and we will continue to provide updates as events unfold.